Oh my gosh. To be honest, I wish I did that earlier. Investing in yourself makes complete sense if you are in the business to help others. You can only help the next person as far as you have the potential to go. The biggest thing I notice when you're lowering prices is that if you find yourself in a race to the bottom, you need to get out of there quickly before they book you. The first impression is the lasting impression. If you're a homeowner and somebody knocks on the door in a t-shirt and shorts and flip-flops and they say maintenance, are you gonna open the door? It's the same thing when it comes to like when you own a business and you are owning your business, meaning I'm gonna show up for the business because I'm taking this serious. Big mistake, believing that I needed every single piece of gear, whereas if I had something.
So first off, you work with a bunch of clients and you work with a lot of entrepreneurs and you are also a mentor. What is one thing that most people overlook when you work with them and that you always tell them as far as some advice?
Okay, this is good. Thank you for having me. No, I'm joking. So one thing that I always explain to people, and even when they reach out first, I would pull their social profiles. And this was something that was taught to me back when I started working, to be honest, at a church. Excuse me. They looked at the social profiles to try to see who they were getting involved with because they didn't want anything that was too risky out there and also something that could potentially damage their image. So that's the first thing I look for. I will go in and say, oh, yeah, that's cool. Hey, no problem. Hey, let's exchange information, or what's your IG information? And if I start scrolling through and start seeing different things like, okay, you say that you're in a coaching space, but the things that you have on your online is like you're bad mouthing people, you're going off on people, you're expressing your feelings on something somebody did to you this day, or you're just really polarizing as far as like the comments that you're making or the posts that you're making. I say, hey, it's all well and good. I know we could work, but before we do anything, you need to clean up your social profiles. And that just, it doesn't only go for like one, it's across the board. The other thing that I also look for too is depending on like what the space that they're going to move into, it's trying to check to see if they even have anything on LinkedIn. A lot of times people say, hey, I want to work with business owners, or I want to work with like entrepreneurs, or I want to work with brands. But, I think a lot of times what creators do, they completely negate the fact that LinkedIn it is even out there, and they don't even make a profile. Even if you're not posting on there, just make a profile on there that shows, hey, this is my business side. Instagram is cool. TikTok is cool. But what if that brand wants to take it to the next level with you and they want to dig deeper in to try to see, okay, where are you from, or, your professional experiences? They want to check LinkedIn. So I always say, hey, just make it. Even if you don't post anything, just make sure you have one out there.
Will that also help me with brand deals as well? As far as if I'm trying to get a brand deal, or I'm trying to just to get clients on board. Like I noticed that, I'm pitching a lot to clients, but they're not, going for me.
Yeah. So if you're pitching a lot to clients and you're noticing that you are getting pretty much ghosted, again, the best thing I would do is check your social profiles. And I have like a framework for it. It's called SCAT. That is to stop, it is to consider, it is to assess, and is actually to transform. So the first thing you want to do is just stop posting, stop consuming. And what I mean by consuming, stop scrolling, just stop scrolling, just completely cut it out. And I want you just to start considering the different people that's in your area or in your niche. I hate to say niche, but I have to say it right now. Or just in the thing that you do. Start looking at different creators. I'm not saying to compare yourself to them, but just start looking at the things that they're doing and start paying attention to the posts that they're making. If you consider them to be successful based off whatever reason that you have, maybe it could be the views or the likes, or you just notice that they're doing a lot more than you're doing. Taking into consideration the things that they're posting, then I want you to assess yours. That's the A, to go back down your social profile, look at the posts that you're making. Are they in alignment with what the person that you're achieving to be or striving to be? Or do you guys have the similar posts, or are your posts completely left field based off the fact that you are a plumber in like the Greensboro area, but you have stuff like dancing and, you're at a bar and such, just kind of consider that. And the last thing I would say is to transform. Start pulling the things off your social profiles and start putting the things on there that you believe will attract the business. So if somebody asks, hey, what's your social profile so I can make sure that I could send this to someone, when they're sending it, they're sending something that you could be proud of, because you always have to remember what you post online, it doesn't go away. And also that's the number one thing that's going to speak for you when you're not there. If you're sleeping and somebody is sharing your social profile, your Instagram, or even your TikTok, or even your Facebook page, you know that what they're sharing is something that will speak for you when you can't speak for yourself.
Awesome. What about how often and how much do you invest in your own self? You own your own business and you are very successful in it, but how much time and like, do you have a mentor? Do you invest in yourself?
Yes. And that was the biggest thing that I noticed. Oh my gosh. To be honest, I wish I did that earlier. Like, investing in yourself makes complete sense if you are in the business to help others, because you can only help the next person as far as you have the potential to go. So like, investing in like in a mentor, or, just following somebody. If you don't have the money to invest, just start following somebody and just start seeing the things that they're doing. Start looking at their YouTube videos. If they have a YouTube presence, start consuming their stuff. And the biggest thing I would say is this, like, if you don't have the money to invest, and I'll get the two, if you do have the money, if you don't have the money to invest, like, pick one person and stick with that one person. If that is the person that has the same values you have, they're in a similar area that you want to go into, or you're striving to go into, like, just stick with them and just, I don't want to say copy, but just mimic the things that they're doing. Because within the content that they're posting, if they're posting it correctly and they're constantly dropping stuff, they're giving you the nuggets and the keys to what you need to even just up your game, like I would say tenfold. A lot of times people, what they may do, they may watch this one, they may watch this one, and pull everything from there, but you're getting bits and nuggets of that. If you start consuming just one person, they're saying the same thing over, just in different ways. So you'll eventually pick up like, when I'm posting something or when I'm recording myself, I got to remember I am the content. I have to be the content. So that will be instilled in your brain. So if you go out and you're an event, instead of you focusing everything on the event, no, I need to focus on the things that I'm doing. So if somebody's looking at me, they can know what I'm in the business of doing. Now, if you are in a position where you can invest in yourself, just think about it. You're investing in yourself because, number one, that's going to, pretty much catapult you above all your competition, because you've already invested in yourself with somebody who's doing it at a high level, and they're pretty much like shortening the learning curve for you, because they're saying, hey, these are all the mistakes that I made. Don't do this, but do this. And when you're investing in somebody, make sure that they're also investing in themselves, because it's like the power of proximity. So if you're investing in a person and you found out that person is investing in another person that it may be triple the amount that you pay for it, you got to remember, like, great information trickles down. So whatever they're getting, it's inside their brain. They're putting in an emotion, and in turn, they're putting in emotion to their mentees. So it's like one of the most genius things that you could possibly do. Now, I'm not just trying to say like to go out there and be someone to invest in every single thing, or, just kind of like stick to what you need in this season. And whether it be like 6 months or a year, what do you need in this season? And once you're done with that, possibly move on to another mentor in another area. But the mentorship, from what I've invested in, I can't tell you already the things that I've learned, and also the things that I can then pass on to my clients, or make sure my clients are successful based off of what I'm learning. And that's crazy. The other thing too is the tax benefit, because it's school. It's not like college. You can't write off a college education. You can't, but you can write off the mentorship. So I know I'm getting into tax thing. I'm not a tax attorney or a tax specialist, but I just know, like, when you're investing in yourself, that is a business expense. So whatever that price tag is, you are able to write that off too. So something to think about.
Now, J.August, is J.August Media a one-man team?
No. No, it is not. J.August Media is not a one-man team. And I have a wonderful team behind me. One is right here that helps me and keeps me grounded and keeps me on point and makes sure she lets me know, like, hey, did you do this, this, and this? I have another team that's been with me. Oh gosh, I forgot how many years they've been here. But again, they handle the editing, they handle the posts that you see going out. You may see a lot of me, but I'm so grateful that I have them behind me, and they support, and they're involved in the vision of what we have here at J.August Media. I couldn't do it myself. Even the photographers and the videographers that come along with me, when there's things that require more, I'm so grateful for them, because I'm being honest, without them, there would be no J.August Media, because you can't do everything. And that was the biggest thing that I noticed when I first started off. I wanted to do everything. I wanted to do the videos. I wanted to edit. I wanted to do the social posts. And I noticed that I was just literally just piling on a ton of work and not getting anywhere. And I didn't know what to do next. The first thing that I made sure to do was hire a social media manager. And that completely changed everything, because it's so much content that if you're out working, you constantly doing gigs, there's so much pieces of content that you have that you forget what you have. And again, you need that framework to say, hey, I shot this, and this, but it also needs the framework to make sure that it's going out, so it looks like you're everywhere. And that was one of the biggest things that I did, as far as like just having this company itself, is getting a team behind you. And the team behind you just really, it honestly just multiplies you. It can't multiply you physically. You can't be in multiple places at one time. I mean, you can, but for the most part online, it's like you're everywhere at that point.
Now, also with that team, do you also connect with other photographers, and do you guys bounce ideas off of each other anytime?
Yeah, I always connect with other photographers and videographers, because the thing is this, like, and I don't even want to just talk about photographers and videographers. I just want to make a blanketed statement. If you're like in the business to do business, like in a certain area, you have to remember that the knowledge that you have inside your brain is going to be like triple the amount that an average person will have. Let's say, and now I'm picking on my plumbers right now. Say if you're a plumber, you're a licensed plumber. There are probably videos that you're watching right now. There are products that you know about right now. There's different techniques that you know about right now that the average person would not know. So if you're talking with another plumber, you have the industry language that you're talking about, but I won't know about it. So when they going into like, what should you post, is like, you could just talk about the things in layman's terms. Don't use industry language of the things that you're learning. So it's always great to bounce ideas off of other plumbers and other photographers and videographers, because we're all in this business to learn as much as we possibly can. Why? Because we want to become experts and excel at our craft. So by bouncing off ideas with like-minded individuals, it only just amplifies the things that you know, because the person that you may be talking to may have had a mentor that was excelling in this part of the country, but you've never experienced it in this part of the country. But now you know a new technique that you could use in this side of the country. So it's always beneficial to do that. Definitely do that.
Cool. All right. When it comes to pricing now, I know that you've worked with clients or tried to get a client, and you've actually lowered your price. And what have you found when lowering prices and you realize they went with someone else, though?
All right. So biggest thing, the biggest thing I notice when you're lowering prices is that if you find yourself in a race that to the bottom, you need to get out of there quickly before they book you. If you send your prices over to a client, and the first thing they do, they're not asking about the value that you bring. They're just asking like, why does it cost so much? You gotta be careful. You gotta be careful, because you'll start noticing that even if you get that job, you're gonna be dealing with the headache of nickel and diming everything that you possibly do. But you're gonna notice like what they call is scope creep. And scope creep is basically like, you say you're gonna do one thing, and then slowly but surely you start noticing the tasks keep adding on, but the tasks are added on, and it's like, well, we're paying this much. Why should we get this and this? That you're in a bad situation. You got to get out there, cut your losses, get out there as fast as possible. But the other thing that I've noticed, like when I lowered prices, especially with, certain clients who've done their due diligence, they've already searched the marketplace and they already know, okay, we know this person is this high. We know this person is this low. So we already have that cap. We already know our market research. We know what we're not going to go over, and we know what we're not going to go under. Now, they want to find somebody within the middle of that based off the value that they're bringing. So if you come in way low, they clearly say, okay, we've done our research, and let's use hyper numbers. Let's say if there was a $5,000 package, but they know people are offering it for 2,500, they probably want to land somewhere in the middle, maybe like what, 35, maybe $4,000, and the most they'll pay is 5,000. But imagine if you come in at $1,500, they were like, okay, who are you? And we're not even going to take the risk of going with this person because clearly you don't know what you're doing based off our research. And I've found that when I want to go in and I would feel like, I don't know if I could charge this much. And that was just based off my own limiting belief. I don't know if I could charge this much. And you send it out and you just don't hear anything back. And then you check and they hired somebody else. And then you do your search and you figure out, oh my God, they paying that much. And it was just based on my limited belief. Like I couldn't charge that much. But that's also on you, that you know the industry well, you know what you bring to the table, and you know where your pricing should be at that point.
Great. All right. What about look? The look, your dress code. I know sometimes you'll bump into photographers and they're like, Jay, why are you dressed up? Or Jay, why do you, go out? It's just a baseball event or it's just this. What do you tell them about when they say it's just?
Oh man, when people say it's just like a dress code, or they say, why are you dressing the way you dress when you go out to shoot photos or videos, or you're doing like a consultation, like why are you dressed up? I was like, well, because here's the thing. The first impression is the lasting impression. I hate to say it, like, a lot of people just think like, oh, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. You should let people be there. Yeah, that's all good. But if you're looking to book somebody at a certain price point, they're expecting a certain thing. Think about this. If you're a homeowner, just think about this. Or let's just say you're in an apartment and somebody knocks on the door and they're in a t-shirt and shorts and flip-flops and they say maintenance. Are you going to open the door? Or are you going to look for, I don't see a name tag. I don't see a button-up shirt. I don't see a uniform. Who would you trust more? Would you let them in your house or no? No, I wouldn't let them in. I was like, no, I don't know who you are. Like, what are you doing? So it's the same thing when it comes to like when you own a business and you are owning your business, meaning I'm going to show up for the business because I'm taking this serious. So yes, a button-up is in line. A dress shirt is in line. Your logo's on there is in line. But the biggest thing I would say is that many times you're on an event and the event, who knows how many people could be at the event? Let's just say it's 100 people at this particular event, but you've been hired by the person that's on the stage. It could be 3 people on there, but you're the only one that's moving if everybody's paying attention to the people on stage. So every time you move, what are they thinking? Like, oh, they see you in the corner. Oh my God, he looks so professional. Oh my gosh, this guy really came here to work. Rather than saying like, who is that? Is he here for the event, or is he a participant? Just have the camera. Like, who is that? So I always say, excuse me, it helps you stand out more than anybody else inside the room because you're the one that's moving. And again, those 100 sets of eyes, those eyeballs over those 100 people are 100 potential clients that just looking for you. And when they need you, they'll remember you, that you were there and you were dressed apart.
Nice. What about, let's say, what are 3 things? You've been in this industry for a long time. Mm-hmm. What are 3 mistakes that you made in the beginning that you were just like, you would want to help someone avoid?
Wow.
Like 3 things that were just like, why did I do that?
Oh man. Looking back, the things that I thought that I needed, oh gosh. Number 1 was like, I needed every single piece of marketing thing out there. I needed business cards, I needed flyers, I needed this, I needed that, but I wasn't really taking advantage of the social media aspect. And again, when I started out, Facebook was already here. I wasn't taking advantage of that. I didn't really post, excuse me, a lot of the things online. I didn't take advantage of that when that would have made more sense, especially nowadays, like in the age that we're in. A lot of people think that, hey, you need to hand a business card off, and that's all well and good in certain circumstances, but there are ways around that. But you don't need all that. You don't even need a website. I'm being completely honest. You really don't. What you need is a proper portfolio that somebody can reference back to, or you just need a body of work on a link. It could be a Google Drive link. It could even be a Canva free site. You just need some type of body of work that if somebody asks for it, if they don't have Instagram, if they don't have TikTok, and they do have LinkedIn, or they may not even have a LinkedIn, you could send them that link. You could text the link or you could email the link. The other thing, excuse me, I think that was the biggest mistake was getting an office space. Right now, this is post COVID. We've learned during COVID that a lot of the spaces that we don't need. I mean, look at this. We have cameras, we have Zoom, we have all kind of things. But I ran and got an office because I thought that's what would have made me established. That's what people would have saw. They would have came to the office, to the studio. They will always be there. But we started fastly noticing that people didn't really care about that. They were like, "Oh, you got an office. That's nice. Are you going to show up for what's the name?" So that was the other thing. You didn't really need an office. With the space that you could possibly do, you could use Starbucks. You could use a library for all I care. It could be anywhere you could meet a client. Or for nowadays, you could just actually get a Zoom and set up a link, have a professional setup, and still have the same conversation. The other thing that I would say that was a big mistake, and that actually should have been number one for me, was believing that I needed every single piece of gear before I got started. I was like, I had a camera, then I needed a lens. I got the lens, but then I need a better camera. It's like constantly back and forth, whereas you can take exactly what you have. Now, it's certain things I would say that you do need, like a flash, external flash and stuff, if you're doing photos. But in your industry, there's certain pieces of equipment that you just need to get started. Everything else you can either rent, especially if you're in the home improvement space, rent it from Home Depot. They have Yancey rents. There's different things that you can rent pieces of equipment for. You don't have to go out and buy it and just build it into the cost. Now, for my entrepreneurs out there, again, whatever space that you're in, let's say the photo and video space, they're rental houses. So if you get on a job when they're requiring a certain camera, say for instance, they say, "Hey, we're looking for somebody with a red camera," and a red camera, if you guys don't know, is a very expensive camera. It's about $12,000. And I think that's on the low end, probably used. And that doesn't include anything. It's just the box. And you have nothing. You can't even record anything with that, but you can rent it and build it into the cost. And then you will have that footage. You'll have the fact that, yes, you could provide a red camera. You could do that. But that was my biggest thing. It was thinking that I needed everything, that I need to go completely into that, completely spend every one of my paychecks that I was working in corporate to get every piece of equipment first and then look for the job. Whereas if I had something, I could start with it, get the jobs and build from there.
And that was actually a tip you learned from your pastor.
Excuse me.
That was a tip you learned from your pastor, because she actually showed you, like, hey, look, she showed you the list and said, this person's renting the equipment, and they added it into the fee.
That's the biggest thing I would say. If you're starting in an industry and you don't know exactly where you should be on charging, I hate to say it, but you should mystery shop people. Companies do it all the time. They mystery shop people inside malls. They mystery shop people in restaurants. We worked at Cracker Barrel was mystery shop. I mean, this is just a part of a plan just to make sure that everybody's calibrated the same way. The same thing you should do to calibrate for your company, mystery shop. It's not really taking anything out of a photographer's mouth or videographer's mouth or another plumber's mouth or an electrician's mouth, but you're just trying to figure out where they're at. Like, how did they get there? How did they get this price in? What's an invoice look like for them? What's a quote look like from them? If you haven't done a quote, sent a formal quote, just call a company and get a quote and just see how they do it. And you're going to get so much insight based off that, because especially if it's a company that has been in business for years, clearly they have vetted the process. They have went through a ton of invoices or systems or whatever they use. Just take that information as intel on how you could build your company based off of that. How many times I've been shopped? I know I've been secret shopped. And I'm like, so you get married in Idaho and you're calling me and I'm based in Atlanta, and you're trying to just figure out what I hypothetically charge for a travel fee. And I know, and it's all good. And it's something you can't be get mad off of it, because somebody's just doing their due diligence because they're running a company.
Have you ever done mystery shopping?
I have. When I first started the weddings, we actually did. So what we did, he knows who he is. He knows it. This is a good friend of mine. We mystery shopped him, and it was why we chose him.
It's a bridal show.
Yeah, it was a bridal show. And why we chose him, it was based off his portfolio and his presence. That's what it was. We walked up to him, and his logos were in his shirt. He even had a hat with his logo on there. I noticed like book bags were on the floor. Logos were on that. I noticed like everything was branded with his initials. And I was like, man, this guy's doing it at a high level. We had a chance to check out his work. Same thing. excuse me. And then we were like, okay, we're gonna act like we're a married couple and just
We're getting married.
we're getting married. And we made up a date, and him and his wife. They were extremely accommodating, answering all the questions. And the one question when I first started off, I was noticing like a lot of people were saying that when delivering images of photography, if you're in weddings, make sure you give a cap to the images because people don't deserve more images. Or it was something that I kept reading online. It was like on Reddits and different forums. And I was like, that just it didn't sit right with me. I was like, if this is this person's day, I want to deliver out the images that the best of the best of the best, but all the edited images that I created. I was noticing horror stories. People were saying, I'm going to give you 100 images for an 8-hour wedding, or we cap at 300. And I don't, for whatever reason. And it was just what he said. He said, why would I keep these images when I'm going to print them and build a clubhouse with them? And I started laughing. I was like, wow, this makes sense. And so again, I think it makes sense to like secret shop people because it'll just help you out. It'll definitely help you out.
Now, I know you're a mentor. Is that something you love doing? How do people get in contact with you? Why are you a mentor?
Yeah. So, all right. So the reason why I love mentoring like new photographers and videographers is when I first started, like when I really started getting like booked for like, travel gigs and different like events that were outside of the wedding field, and start dabbling in the corporate and start getting people start reaching out. I remember one time where I was at I don't know, wow, I forgot where it was. It was at an event, and I saw a photographer that I was seeing a lot, and I walked up to him, and he was working. I was not. I think I was like a participant of like the event or something. I said, "Hey man, I really like your images." He's like, "I really appreciate that." I was like, you're using this flash. Like, hey, what are your settings like? Like what? Because I'm new to this, and he looked at me. He said, "I will never tell you my setting." He was like, "What do you think this is?" And I was like, "Ooh," I was like, "That burned." Excuse me. So from that day, I went on YouTube University and started learning. But I was like, from that day, I was like, wow, if anybody was ever to come up to ask me that, and especially if I had some downtime, I will talk to them, because you don't know if that could have broke the person to where they never wanted to try again. Or it could have, if you just would have gave them maybe 2 minutes of your time and just amplify them like, hey, what are you using? Oh, and you know what? I would love to give you that, but I think what you need is this. And you could definitely search YouTube, but my whole thing on having this is make sure you do X, Y, and Z. Just that nugget of information right there would have been the best. But to have like, if you're brand new and somebody just say that, oh man, it was defeating. So I vowed to myself, I will never do that to another photographer and or videographer. I wouldn't do it. Even if I wasn't in this industry, if I was in a different industry, I would give some piece of advice. Now, if you come up asking, hey bro, can I shoot with you? And I'm like, I don't really know you, but let me get the things that you're doing as far as like, let me figure out your whole game plan first and maybe we could chat later. That's one thing. I get it. Or if they're saying, hey man, I'm looking for a gig like next week. Can I roll with you and can you pay me? That's something different. But if somebody say, hey man, what are your settings like? Just go for it,
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. What about, I'm shy. I'm in this business, but I'm really shy, or I just need some more experience. Where are some places that you could tell people to get some experience or to really break out of that shy bubble of shooting in front of people and being in big crowds? And where can I get some experience with that?
Oh man. So if you're shy and you want to get into like the photo or like the media world itself, like photo, video and such, if you're a shy person or if you just don't have any experience whatsoever, the first thing you do, are you part of a local church? If yes, that's easy right there, because most churches itself has a media department. If you have interest and if you feel like you're called, that's your gift, join your media department at the church. The reason why, most of the times you don't even have to have equipment. The equipment's already there. Then you need repetition. There's a service every Sunday. If you can make yourself available, then from that point, you're learning so many different things. You're learning how to shoot people, how to shoot candidates, how to shoot portraits, how to shoot action. You learn all that within that Sunday. And with the repetition, it's going to make you a little bit easier. But then you'll start noticing this. Excuse me, I got something in my throat. You'll start noticing this. You start talking to the same people constantly every Sunday. They'll start to get to know you. oh my God, I saw my images the other week. They look really great. And that just builds your confidence, because confidence builders are just based off repetition. Like, say, for instance, if you like in public speaking, you want to get into that, but you don't feel like you can do it because you're just shy talking with people. The easiest thing you could possibly do is, do you get coffee every day? You do. Okay. So every single day that you go to this one coffee shop, talk to the barista. Hey, are there any discounts today? And they're probably going to be like, you asked me that yesterday. I told you there's none. But just keep asking. And then eventually it's like, why do you keep asking? Like, you know, just tell them like, hey, because by that time you probably built a relationship with one, two, or three of them. And from that point, you say, hey, I'm really trying to get into some type of public speaking, and this is helping me. And then you'll start noticing this one thing. You'll start noticing that they're going to start playing the game back with you as well. If they know that you're shy, you know what you're doing, but you got to build some rapport first. So taking it back to like the church, or senior center, or like a community center, they'll get to know you based off the things that you're doing. Hold on. Need some water. They'll start to know you based off like the things that you're doing, and based off the images that you're providing, and they'll start to just know your personality. They'll start like asking you questions like, oh, have you done this all the time? No, I really haven't. They don't notice that, especially if you're in a local church that has really good pastors. They're gonna start noticing like, oh, notice that he's shy. Let me start bringing them around. Hey, can you do this on a Wednesday night? And then slowly but surely, like you're gonna start having the camera, and that camera is going to help you overcome that shyness. Now, if you're not part of a local church, and I think I was mentioning from before, there's community centers, there's senior centers. Like how much joy would it bring to like seniors if somebody's coming in and grabbing photos of them? Like how much joy would that bring? And then you could provide those images over. And most of the time they want somebody to talk to too. So that will help you out, Jack. The other thing too is community events. You just go on Facebook and just search your area for different community events and just go out there and shoot. Most of the time you could just bring a camera and you wouldn't even have to ask anybody to take photos. You're part of the community. You're just taking images. Now, if there was no one there taking images, the event coordinator or the director, they'll probably see you and they're going to ask, hey, are you taking photos? Like, yes, I am. Can you provide those over? We'll give you credit. There you go. Yep.
Nice. Okay. What about taking local classes?
Ooh, local classes are really good if you're trying to learn photo and video. And the reason why is that most of the time it's really cheap, and the instructor usually has years of experience. It may not be experience in the thing that you want. I remember when I first started, I took a local community class in Georgia, and it was like $100 for like 10 weeks. It was something insanely cheap. But the guy, he was a seasoned veteran. He went through the analog phase. He went through just printing with film, and then he switched over to digital. But the class was really basic. It was really slow, but he just taught the principles. We're gonna go outside to a park and take pictures of birds. And I'm like, I'm trying to shoot a wedding. I'm not trying to take pictures of birds, but it was that slow down process of him teaching us different things, as far as like things that you may not get on YouTube, the strategy behind why you're taking a photo. Like, hey, calm down, look at your composition, look at your frame. Is this really what you want to capture? And then hit the button. And it's like just things like that, just to slow down and just kind of think about it over repetition. Like you see something instantly, like, oh, the camera needs to move over here. I got my subject over there. So local classes are really good. I know there's people that got a degree in photography or videography or media and all kind of stuff. I don't have that. I'm being completely honest. I don't have that. My experience comes from on the job training. It was real life situations to where something broke. I had to figure it out. There was a certain scene. I got to figure it out. I did ask people. I leaned on different people who had the experience, but yeah, the local classes definitely help.
Okay. What about, I forgot my question. Mm-mm. What about when you are trying to get clients, you keep getting a no, where should I go next? Like which directions should I go next?
Well, the biggest thing I think a lot of people fail to do when they're getting a lot of no's is just to ask for the feedback. There is, in my quote system, if we lose a quote, there is an email that I can send out just saying, hey, I know you didn't go with us, but can you just give us a brief understanding as to why? Was it the pricing? Was it the what we're offering? Just so you could get some feedback on based on what you're offering. Because a lot of times you may think that you're offering a good price, but when they look at it, it's too low or it's too high, or what they're getting in the marketplace, you don't compare. So that's one thing you could think. Another thing too is to realize that maybe the no's that you're getting it because you're going for the wrong audience or you're going for the wrong client. Maybe they see a portfolio based off music videos or like hip hop music videos, and they're looking for corporate things, but you're going for corporate, but your portfolio doesn't align with what they need. So a lot of the biggest thing I would say is this, and I think this is touching back on the initial thing that we talked about earlier, was what's the first thing I tell people if they want to be mentored, if they ask and like, hey, I'm trying to get into X, Y, and Z, is you have to take yourself out of the equation just for a sec. You may think the work that you put together are bangers, like, oh, check this video that I just did, check this highlight reel that I just did, but the client's not looking for that. They may say, hey, that's nice, but they don't want that. They may want something scaled down to the fact that where they could take that video and show it to board members, because maybe the board is a little bit older. Maybe they don't want super hype like transitions and like sound effects and all that stuff. They maybe don't need that. They just want a video that the board could see, that they can get an approval on a multi-million-dollar project. The transitions are not going to do it. So you just have to take into consideration what is your ideal client and what they're looking for, and start catering that portfolio that you're sending to them based off the things that they're looking for. For me, there's certain clients that I deal with that if they send out, hey, we're looking for X, Y, and Z, I update the portfolio based on the videos that they're looking for. So if it's a conference, I'm sending conference videos. I'm not sending videos about a wedding. It wouldn't make any sense. It doesn't align with what they want. And I think a lot of times people say, well, check my work on my Instagram. My Instagram speaks for itself. It's like, but it's not what they're looking for, you know?
Now, a next question I have for you is, I know that you've stopped doing friends and family discounts.
Yes.
And I know that's a touchy subject for a lot of people, but it was actually one of your good friends who told you, no, don't give me the friend discount. Mm-hmm. Charge me what you would charge a client.
Yeah.
Why did you stop giving friends and family discounts?
Well, it was a couple of things why I stopped doing family and friends discounts, because I started noticing, and there's nothing wrong with my family or my friends. Clearly, there's nothing wrong with you guys. But I started noticing that where I wanted to take my company was completely different based off what I was trying to discount for. Yes, I know I'm good at what I do, but you also have to consider your time and what you're doing it. If they don't want to work with one of your, like your team members, they want to work with you exclusively, then that takes you away from running your business. Whereas a client that comes in that you're catering to or you're serving, they're paying the price point to what you need to keep your business afloat. So if you're doing a ton of discounts and stuff like that, from a standpoint of looking at it from your friends, I want it friends out there. I want you to kind of think about this. Would you want your buddy to go out of business because you wanted really great photos and videos, because they couldn't afford to pay for the things or the equipment or whatever they need to pay for it? They couldn't afford that based on the fact that you wanted that? Or would you want to support them to make sure they stay in business so they can keep taking the photos and videos of you based on the time that you actually charge? So once I started noticing, like, certain friends start saying, hey, please don't put a discount on there. It started for me understanding, okay, your value is high. They can see that, they want to support it.
Or that they even just value what you do, you know?
Yeah, because a lot of times you get a lot of discounts and you may get that pushback from, and I'm sorry if I'm ruffling feathers, from certain family or friends. They want the discount or the hookup. They don't really value what you do.
Yeah.
And it does not go back to, well, you know, I was with you in the trenches. I understand that, but I also had to get out the trenches because I had to keep researching the things that I'm doing to put me in a position where I'm at now. Whereas most people went off and played or partied or did this and that. We were in the lab, like, thinking about how can we increase this, or, oh, I'm struggling on this. I need to learn on this, or I need to invest in this mentor. Like, that stuff doesn't come cheap, and it costs time. So once you see that, I mean, I hate to say it, I just start saying no. I just started saying no. And the power of no, to be completely honest with you, is so powerful once you can stand by it, because eventually people will start honestly just respecting the fact. You'd be like, man, you told me no. I was like, yeah, because I'm taking this serious, you know?
Now, I will ask you this question. Back in the day, Jason LaPointe would say sleep is a waste of time.
No.
How do you feel about that now?
Sleep is not a waste of time. Sleep is very important for biological reasons, by faith reasons, because if you don't trust in him and you want to put everything on yourself, you're going to struggle. I'm sorry. I'm just have to be from the faith perspective, but also from a scientific method as well. And I could be saying this wrong, could be butchering this. But what sleep does is like it completely washes your brain, like the gray matter of your brain. And it really just helps to like kind of clean up your thought process. I've noticed that I've made the stupidest mistakes when I'm sleeping, when I'm trying to stay up on an edit, when I'm not sleeping, when I'm sleepy, trying to stay up on an edit. I'm trying to do 14 things at midnight and I'm not getting anything done. I'm just going around in circles. I'm falling asleep and waking back up. And it's a complete waste of time. Whereas if you just have a cutoff time and you say, you know what, I trust in him. And tomorrow when I get up, I'm going to have the answers. I'm going to rest. And it's crazy. I'm telling you, if you just go to sleep earlier, and even if you have to wake up just a little bit earlier, you have so much clarity, especially when we're running a business and you have multiple clients that you're dealing with. Like you may get a text at 7 o'clock at night, which is boundaries. Don't answer that. And that's a whole nother video. But you may get a text at 7 o'clock at night, but right now you're dead tired. You've been up since 5. You've shot something today. You've been dealing with the kids and the family. And now it's 7 p.m. And do I need to answer this right now? I don't even know how to answer this right now. So just like stop, pause, answer it tomorrow. And you'll just notice that if you start getting sleep and just getting into that habit, number one, you won't feel sick all the time. Number two, you have clarity. And number three, you'll start noticing that a lot of things are getting done because you're more efficient at that point too.
There's been so many times that you've put more stress on yourself by trying to deliver pictures the next day because you just wanted to make someone happy. Why did you take a step back and stop? And what are some steps you started to do to help with that process?
Wow. So one thing I started doing was really just asking the client, like, what is your turnaround? Now, if you're in any industry, you know, speed is important because sometimes, especially now that we have like a microwave society, it's all about how fast can you get it done? And that's all well and good. But certain clients understand the value in the thing that you're offering. And they wouldn't ask you, hey, I need this turnaround by tomorrow, because they get this is a creative piece, or maybe this is a project that I already know from just the experience or just the research that I've been doing should take 3 months. I shouldn't ask somebody to get it back next week. So that was the one thing I started asking, like, hey, what is your time frame as far as like, when do you need this back? Because I used to stress and like, okay, I shot this today, you need it back tomorrow. Unless it's something that's pressing on time, meaning it's relevant when it comes to like the scope of the event. So let's say hypothetically, you're a videographer covering the Grammys. You can't get the video back to the producers and to the social media team in 2 weeks. It's dead in the water at that point. But if you're in a process where they need a video or they need photos for like an annual board meeting that's happening in June, and we're only in like, let's say April, you have a little bit of time because they want to make sure this video includes all the points, but it wouldn't make any sense for you to rush it back because they don't need it now. It doesn't make any sense. So I think the biggest thing for creators or anybody in the space that you're in is just to get the accurate time frame from the person as far as, hey, when do you need this project back by? And then give them your turnaround. Another thing too would help a lot of people is if they had kind of like a ballpark of when how things should take, and like a frequent asked questions portion in their website, because that would help alleviate a lot of the people's problems as far as like, well, I need this done, I need it done now, unless it's emergency situations and you give that time frame. But that's one of the biggest things you could do. One other thing that helped me a lot to make sure that I wasn't stressing with trying to get things back, and did I explain that, was to have multiple points to where I'm explaining when my client's going to get things back. And I've gotten a ton of feedback on this that it actually worked. It was when I know, hey, I just shot this, you're going to receive these deliverables this day. deliverables this, or not day, but week, this deliverables this week, and have everything broken down and had that constant timeline going in all our email communication. So there was never a point where they felt left in the dark. Like, didn't you say I was going to get this back? Because that alleviates your stress as well. You're not getting random texts or random emails like, hey, how's the video coming along? Like, we just left yesterday. So even in the contract that goes out, the welcome emails, it has the timeline on there. And if you over deliver, meaning if you say 2 weeks and you get it back in a week, that's great. You have the capacity to do that, but that's not something that you're leading with. So that helped me a ton of figuring out, I got a family. I have editors that need sleep. They have families as well. And I want to make sure like the workplace that I'm fostering is something that people are welcome, where they can have a life outside of, they're not, everything doesn't have to be dependent on work. And, we have no time to like see the sun. No, that doesn't work. It doesn't work that way.
Gotcha. Now, I know in this day and age with cell phones and being able to record everything on a cell phone, why should a client of yours hire someone like you, your company, or any company to do what you guys do instead of me just using my phone to capture things?
Well, all right. It's because it depends. Like if you're serious about your business, and, for me, I could take these cameras and produce exactly what I'm producing for a client and have the same effect. However, if that's not your calling, or if you're not gifted in this area, or if you really just want to be serious about it, cell phones are cool to show like the day in, day out, quick things. But if you want your message curated perfectly to reach that target audience, it would make more sense to hire somebody, because again, when you're hiring somebody in, you're hiring somebody with the experience based off your situation. So they may have talked in their past maybe to 5 people within, I'm using my plumbers again, in the plumbing space. And this is what we've done before. This is what we found that worked. This is what didn't work. And based off like the person being in that field and studying that field and learning the ins and outs, learning what updates that go on different platforms, it's like we're more in tune than you. Whereas most entrepreneurs or business owners, if it's not within their whole focus as far as what they're doing, they're not paying attention to anything else. So the information that they may have as far as the way to take a video, or the way to edit a photo, or the way to post something may be antiquated, maybe 3 years ago. Heck, it may be even 2 weeks ago, and everything's changed with the new update. So with us being in the field that we're in tune with the new updates. We know, hey, don't hold it that way. Don't film it this way. You need to film it this way. So this is kind of what you're paying for when you do hire somebody in to do videos for their company, to know the maximum amount of minutes that a video could go on certain platforms, because we're doing it day in and day out.
Now, I know also when you're working with people who want to work with you or want you to be their mentor, you also teach them the power of, you need a contract.
Yeah.
And you teach them the steps of what to do with a contract and how to formulate their contract and what should be in their contract. Why is it important that you teach them these things about contracts?
Wow, it is super important. Super important, because I noticed this when I started working with super big brands, or big companies, I should say. Their legal department they needed to see my contract, and they wanted to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. And that's completely understandable. Why? Because they want to protect themselves. So if I'm a small creator, or if I'm just in an industry where I'm doing any type of job, why would I want to protect myself as well? So the first thing I started talking to a lot of photographers and videographers is like, hey, what process are you using? What CRM are you using? If you're using one. If you don't have one, what are you sending to them, just to make sure that you guys are on the same page as far as what they're paying for and what they're getting? Because when everything fails, if anything fails and you get sued or whatever the case may be, a judge is going to look at, okay, what did you pay for and what did they say they were going to give to you? Where did the miscommunication come in? But if you don't have anything, it was like, oh, it was based off a text. He said, he'll give me maybe a couple of videos. What's a couple of videos? Is it 2? Is it 3? Did they say the minutes? Like, when were you supposed to receive it by? But if you don't have anything in writing, then you're pretty much up a creek. The other thing that the contract does is give you some type of clarification based off what you're expecting from the client. So if there's many times where I've walked into a situation where they're looking for something certain, but I'm waiting on their team to provide it over. But in your contract, you could include it in like, hey, based off us receiving everything timely, this is the time frame that we're gonna get everything back. But it has to be based on them. It's kind of like a game of tennis. Like it's back on you right now. We're waiting, and once we get that, then we could do that. And that's also in your email communication. But the biggest thing in a contract, especially like if you're a wedding photographer or videographer, I love this clause, and it's based off harassment. I can't tell you how many times I'm at a wedding and people get belligerent. They are drunk out there at mine. And in some cases, depending on what the wedding that you run, some people can get hostile because, again, they may just don't want their photo taken and they want to approach you about it. And then we have certain things to say, hey, there's certain warnings. And at one point, we just leave. But the client signs off on that. But if you just leave in the middle of somebody's wedding, gratefully, it's never come to that. But you leave in the middle of somebody's wedding, I'm like, you can't do that. But if it's in a contract based off these reasons here, it makes complete sense. But really, the basis of the contract is just to make sure that you're protecting yourself, but you have an agreement what the person is paying for and what they're getting. If there's nothing there, if it's just like pretty much vague, you're never gonna settle anything because, again, you have nothing written, and I just think creatives may go sometimes more on the lines of just wanting to please and make something aesthetically pleasing and super creative and not think about this video may go on forever because you have nothing in writing. You never told them what you're actually going to deliver, and a savvy person is going to catch that. Like, I paid you $250. You said a couple of videos. In my mind, I was thinking 10. You meant 2. I'm sorry, we don't have that written. It was 10.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
All right. With J.August and J.August Media, you've had several successful companies where they've been 6-figure, even more. What are some of the awards that you received, or have you been featured anywhere, or things like that?
Wow. So between J.August Media and the other companies that I've had, top 10 photographer in Atlanta. I've had publications in Jezebel magazine, Modern Luxury magazine, weddings. I've had years of winning the Knot based off the team and the company that we had with a business partner. Gosh, man, you've been featured in Black Bride online magazine. Just different things that we've been featured in. And in the beginning, I think it's all great. I think it's lovely. But it's kind of like one of those things, like I have to sometimes, some people may sit back a little bit too much on their past accolades and then let that just sit and let that fester and the years go by and don't strive to do anything else. Whereas you're only as good as your last job. So I stress that to a lot of photographers and videographers now, because even when they see my profile, they be like, oh my God, you've been here, you've been there, you've been there. You're like, yeah, I can keep bringing it up. But tomorrow, if I do something and I completely trash this job or completely trash these photos, they're going to be like, I don't know who that person was when he did it over there, but it's not the person who showed up now. So that's kind of one thing you have to just keep in mind, that it doesn't end. It's a constant evolution of you learning, investing in yourself, investing in your company, investing in like mentorship, and investing in, just your craft itself, because it just doesn't end unless you're going to retire tomorrow. It doesn't end.
Now, I know Jason LaPointe is constantly, Jason LaPointe doesn't know anything about Atlanta Housewives.
Nope.
Jason LaPointe doesn't know what's going on, from left to right. What do you consume mostly? And even when you're listening in the car, what are you doing?
Usually, all right. So that's a good question, because I'm out of a lot of circles because I don't ingest or consume any, reality TV, none of that stuff. And the reason why I don't is because I just have it to where the mentors and the people that I follow, they've made it a point that every day you have to be curious, meaning you have to constantly learn something, because the minute you stop learning something is the minute like your evolution kind of just like slows down. Your brain, like the way you think, the way you could critically think, it starts slowing down. And a lot of that, unfortunately, is based off people scrolling, because when you scroll, you start slowly but surely just start putting yourself into a state to where you're like, man, they're doing that. I can never do that. And I don't want that. Like, if you literally were to click on my YouTube, I give you my phone, you'll see sermons. You'll see different things as far as like mindset shifts and such, because like we're bombarded with so much information. Like, you don't have time to waste on what did this person do to this person on reality TV, or give me the play by play on all the characters. Like, it has nothing to do with anything. Like, that is not going to change, number one, your financial outcome. That's not going to change your personal outcome. It's not going to do anything. It's just entertainment. And if you're just in the process, or if you're just in the business to be entertained, well, I mean, nothing's really going to change on the other side. So I would say, like, the most of the things that I listen to, again, are like mindset shifts, different sermons from pastors that I follow, but more on the lines of like how to run successful businesses, and also think outside the box when it comes to certain situations that you deal with. Because if you're just used to one thing, or if you've been taught one way and you're using that way, and that's a way that's been done 10 years ago, like, you're not evolving any. Like, you're kind of still stuck in the past. And you've probably heard people say that from before. Well, like, this is the way we always did it. And I'm like, that's what Blockbuster said, and like, what happened to Blockbuster Video? They were everywhere, and all of a sudden they're gone, because another competitor came in, start looking at the market. They weren't paying attention to, this is the way we always done it, or they weren't distracted with entertainment. They start literally looking into it and try to figure out, okay, we got to step outside this box and do something different. And that's kind of the way.
Jason LaPointe, how hard was it to walk away from a 401k?
Very, because it was very hard working away from a 401k, because it was something that sold to you. And okay, let me get this the right way. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you are going to run a business and you are serious about that business, there's different things you can do to keep investing inside yourself, inside your family and such, and it's stuff you can do on your own. But that portion is not taught in schools, for our schools at least. Maybe if you go to business school and such like that, I haven't done that either. But how we're taught is like a way to always be a worker. And that is to get a good job, get a pension, do this, do that. This is the path that you follow. It's never the path of like thinking outside the box and running something on your own. That stuff is usually taught at a young age. The grateful thing about this whole scenario here is that my kids get to see the dad running something. Even if it was to fail tomorrow, completely honest, they saw me give a valiant effort to try to run something and own something. So inside their mind, they know when it can be done. And that's not something that's going to be taught. Most of the kids who excel so much in business and they say, well, my dad and my grandfather and this person ran it, is because they're being taught it. They're not being taught that inside school. And I think that's really unfortunate, because if you always come out to say, I'm going to be a worker, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, you're always going to be limited. Whereas if you do run your own company and you run it successfully and you stick in the process, like, there is really no limit when it comes to it. Most of the people that you see, like, if you're driving a vehicle right now, it was based off somebody's idea. If you are grabbing a pair of headphones and these are the best headphones ever right now, it was based off somebody's idea. And that person's idea wasn't to stay in a 401k. It wasn't their idea. I want to create something for the world. So that's kind of where it comes from on my part.
Being an entrepreneur, what is your daily routine? Like, you don't sleep in.
No.
Jason LaPointe does not sleep in.
Oh,
for those people
gosh.
out there,
No.
Jason LaPointe is up and doing something. What is your routine every day? And why do you not sleep in? Like, I know it's so easy for some people to get caught in a trap of, I work for my own self. I could sleep in until noon. I could do this and that. I can go for coffee. I can do that. Why did you stick to kind of like your work schedule when you left insurance and corporate? You kind of stuck to the same schedule. And why did you do that? Wow.
So the best thing. All right. So if you are leaving your 9 to 5 and you're starting your own company based off you had success in it, and now the income is being replaced, whatever the case may be, the biggest thing I would say is that you have to stick to some type of routine, because so many times people think that the things that you were doing when you had a 9 to 5, steady income, steady paycheck constantly coming in, the things that you could sit back and relax and do, watch TV, just kind of hang out on the phone and scroll. Like, now you're on your time. So there's nobody sitting here watching if you clock in, if you clock out. There's nobody saying you should do this or do that. It's all on you. So the minute if you start falling into the trap of, well, I got more time to do that, you're going to notice that weeks will go by, months will go by. And I'm like, I really didn't do anything. So the biggest thing I would say is get a routine and stick to the routine. If you've been used to getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning because that's when you hit the gym or whatever you case may do when you were in corporate, stick to that same thing. Don't change it. Don't just think that, okay, now I'm not doing this. I have more time to do that. Because believe it or not, the day flies by. Like I don't even, it's almost 2 o'clock already. And it just felt like we just got up, So because the day flies by when you actually have the time to control your time. So I would say, like, with you not having anybody checking in and say, hey, it's a 7 o'clock. You're supposed to be on machine number 4. You're not at machine number 4 and machine number 4 can't run. Your accountability is on yourself. So the one thing I started noticing was like, if I stick to the routine and I know that I've gave it all that I possibly can, because especially like your entrepreneurship and you're starting off by yourself, tons of things are going to go wrong. Tons of fire is going to come up, and you always have to like build in time to handle those things. Like so many times say, I'm going to get up. We're going to execute this video, this video, this video. We're going to get these amount of posts out, and we're going to reach out to this many people. One thing happens, then a fire, and that's the complete day that's gone. So, but if you slept in and then you wake up to like a barrage of text messages, like how can you even like from that point, how can you even function? You gave yourself no time to like, for us is to go into the word. You gave your time none for that. Given your time not to eat any breakfast, not to go for a walk, not to do anything. You just woke up to text messages. So you're in panic mode. Like, how can you think that out? Then it's kind of like you going back into like staying up all night and trying to get tasks done. It doesn't work that way. Especially if you have kids, like, the kids will be up at one time. You have a certain time frame where they sleep to get a lot of things done. And then to jump into dad or mom mode, and then to jump back into entrepreneurship mode. So I would say like the routine is huge. And I think a lot of people, especially ones that I've talked to, they reached out before and they said, like, how do you like manage your time? And I say, well, you can't do the same thing that you were doing when you had a 9 to 5. You just can't. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work because it's your time now,
And I know some of the people that you mentor, you've had 7 o'clock calls with them, and you've had those calls. Why do you do those 7 o'clock calls with them?
Well, the 7 o'clock call, number one, like, I have kids, I have a wife right here. And I started noticing that, if you start treating your business to where you're catering to everyone else's time, then they're not going to respect your time. It's just not going to happen. I hate to say it, but it's not going to happen. There are going to be some occasions where, let's say if you're in a wedding game and you have a bride and groom that you need to speak to and they just cannot, like, due to the nature of their job, they can't speak until 6. Understandable. But for the people I mentor, I want to see if you're serious. Like, are you going to get up at 7 o'clock and really talk this thing out? Or are you going to say, hey, I'm going to call you on my lunch break? So you're not really serious about this. You can't get up an hour earlier to have a conversation about the thing that you want to work on. You have to make it convenient within your lunch break. Like, I don't have time for that. Or if I'm on the phone with you during your lunch break and you're eating, you're not writing anything down, it's like a waste of my time too, So I always like the 7 o'clock call because, again, in the morning, just for me, my brain is fresh. I could think fast. I could like hear things and like offer quick suggestions or quick tips. But also it's really just boiling down to like knowing that this person is really serious because they're taking the time, to do this. So.
And as a mentor too, you also make sure, like, say, I know you've had calls and they've been in the middle of an event or a wedding and they're panicked. Mm-hmm. What do you tell them?
I'll say first thing I was like, calm down. You've been here before. You got to always remember, especially if it's a photographer that's panicking, and say, hey, let's go back to your basics. Are you shooting in RAW? I know I'm getting technical. Are you shooting in RAW? Did anything get deleted? No. Control what you can control. Just calm down. What are you shooting? I think that's the biggest thing, like, based off repetition, is realizing that you've done this before. It may not have been during a wedding. Maybe it was during one of the services at church, or maybe one of the community services that you were actually, or community events that you were photographing, but it happened before. So all you have to do is like calm down. What's going wrong? How can I handle it? Or what can I control? What I can't control? If they're panicking because it's raining, you can't control the rain. What can you do to alleviate that? Get everybody inside. Okay, everybody's inside. Now what? Just find an area where you can photograph them. Everybody knows that it's not going to be perfect right now. You can't make it perfect, but you can keep it going,
Nice. All right. Last question. How can people contact you and reach out to you to
Ooh.
work with you? Or if they want you to be their mentor, like how do they reach you?
Wow, the easiest thing is that my DMs on Instagram is pretty easy. If you want to work with me or you just want to reach out, DM me on Instagram at j.augustmedia. You can find me there, or you can email me at info@jaugustmedia.com. That's one of the two of the easiest ways to get in contact. I wouldn't say if you see me around because most of the time I'm at an event, I'm already back home by the time that footage or whatever goes out. But for the most part, that's the fastest way. I know TikTok is kind of weird because you can't really DM people on there unless you make a connection. It's something weird. But for the most part, Instagram is the easiest way to get in contact with me.
All right. Well, we appreciate you,
Yeah,
Jason
thank you.
LaPointe.
This was
Thank you
good.
for, all right.
We had some good questions. All right.